You can tell me, I don't know if I get it. Why we're discussing all this?
Why?
Why?
Well, it was brought to us, like through Bill, was brought, we had talked, Vera had talked
We talked about it.
Yeah, exactly, it was being talked about, yeah.
Who did, Joe?
No, no.
What do you mean, who did? I asked the question.
Yeah,
Why?
I want to
Why?
know why this was brought up, to put him appointed and not elected, that's all. That's what
We
Don's
talked
asking.
about it, and it's a good time to do it. Vera's got,
Okay, all right,
Vera's got one more term, probably.
all right, I'm ready to get, why? Why? Somebody brought it up, why? What's the reason to bring it up? What's,
The elected officials have brought it to our attention.
okay, for what
You
reason?
know, like Bill said, we have no control. If he wanted to blow his budget next week,
I understand.
we can get rid of him.
We can get rid of them already.
Well, yeah, but you gotta have a special election that costs
And-
money, and everybody wants to cut
You gotta have a
costs.
recall election.
Exactly, you gotta have a recall, you gotta put petitions out there, and I think it's
I
a
know,
pain in the butt.
but if he does that, if he blows his budget, if it's done improperly, you can get him for malfeasance, there are other recourses to address those issues.
You can address those issues, but you still can't get him out of office. But, Don, I think, from my
You can't,
standpoint,
but, well, it could take
There's a
months
re-
to get him out of office before you do this by
Right.
election.
yeah,
That's what he's saying.
from my standpoint, and you know, I've been involved in the regionalizations
Sure.
that's gone on in the past, and I tried to work on ones that actually worked. And we're getting to the point where there are gonna have to be some changes made, and there's gonna have to be some sharing done.
Well,
And
you
the
know,
artic- let me
okay,
finish.
yep,
The reason for changing these now is it's going to give the board a lot more options when that comes up to enter into the discussions with sharing, for instance, the town manager, or sharing the fire department. You know, there's a big push for regionalizing the fire departments. Whether it'll ever happen or not, I don't know. But it puts us in a better position to go into that venue and have an input. As long as ours are elected, it's a tough thing, because the first thing you have to do is get the town to vote to make them not elected.
true, okay.
That's a reason.
That little piece, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But we ain't even close
And
to regionalization.
How do you know?
you haven't had any meetings, you haven't had any
Well,
talks?
I don't, you know what, I don't know.
None of
But
them do.
why is everybody keeping it a secret if there's something out there?
I think you're probably right, Don, that we're not close to regionalization, but I remember when we put the ambulance service together. We
Yep.
got a notice in December, I think, that there was no longer gonna be an ambulance service.
Right.
We, the towns, the
Yeah.
11-member towns, and you know the kind of opinions that the people
Oh, I
have
do.
that worked on that,
Yeah.
they're quite varied and quite strong. In 6 months, put together an ambulance service that has done very well for the last 25
You
years.
know, I fully support that. I agree.
So it can work.
It can work, but in that situation, you're up against it.
Yeah.
When you get up against it, things, attitudes change and you come together.
You could be up against it within the only one I see that's a viable, two things that I think the town might be eventually be interested in. There might be a point where you want to share a town manager,
Maybe.
and the fire department issue. Because right now, we still got a all volunteer
I
fire
understand.
department. But boy, how much longer that's gonna last.
Well, hey, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? It just seems kind of,
And this is just preparatory.
oh, let's do this because somebody might blow their budget.
Yeah, no.
No, this has nothing to do with
I'm
that.
not saying.
You
that,
guys might blow your budget.
But what I'm saying is, that's what Bill,
Huh?
We can't.
that's what Bill brought to our attention.
You can't.
That's why he-
How can Bill? Why can Bill?
You can't.
Excuse-
All right.
I'm
Okay.
just telling you the thing.
You just told me you can't blow your budget and Bill can't blow his budget. I heard from Lee that Bill could blow his budget and we got no recourse.
Oh, anybody can blow their budget.
You just said you can't blow your budget.
Okay, the reason, you know why I said that advisedly? Because in order for that budget to get blown, it must have come by this board
I agree.
and voted on.
I agree. Point.
But if you're not paying attention to the warrants and everything, you could very
Well-
carefully sign off on it.
Well, you know
Which
what?
has happened in the past.
You know
It's
what?
been
Yes, it has,
signed.
yes.
Then it's not just
Yeah.
fire chief's fault.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying, you know? We've picked up on some other stuff like Donnie Cummins and Bill. I didn't even realize that he had put him as a spare. And then Larry and I like, what are these guys doing on the warrant? well, Angela said these guys are spare drivers.
Yeah.
Okay. We had no idea why we were paying these guys, but we picked it up. You know what I mean? Because Joe never came to us and told us who he was hiring or anything.
Yeah.
Which should have been something that should have been brought to us and say, by the way, Bill's a spare driver, Donnie Cummins. If
Yeah.
you see anything in the warrant,
Right.
that's why, because we're paying these guys. Yes.
In all honesty, you
Traditionally,
guys
though,
did not discuss any positions changing except the town clerk, tax collector, treasurer. Nothing was said about the fire chief or the road commissioner until you guys got together with the finance committee last week. Nothing was talked about.
We've talked about Joe with it before, we talked to Vera
You
before, we
didn't
talked to
talk
Bill.
Not in
about
a meeting.
changing the position in a meeting, Lee. I just watched last week's meeting, it's the only one I
We're
missed.
putting it on the agenda,
Yeah.
on the articles.
But as a board, you didn't talk about changing those two positions, the
We're
only
not
one you
changing
were gonna
anything.
change.
We gotta go to the people to change it.
But
We're making
putting
a
it on to change.
we're making
We're
a
not listening to
recommendation.
what,
Putting it on
not
to
listening.
change was never discussed. It
this
wasn't.
was not brought
28.
up.
Doesn't
Can
matter.
I
Yes,
It does matter, it should be brought
suggestion
to.
on Article 28?
Yeah, right.
I think you're wide open for that S on positions to seem like a clerical error.
Why?
And it definitely is not.
No.
Whoa, okay,
And-
the others, fire chief, appointed position. Appointed position. They just, okay.
We'll put in an explanation.
Yeah, but
But it deliberately
Three,
was
there's
written.
three.
Well, I don't, not sure I like it, but that's okay, because I can deal with that. I'm just trying to make sure that when it goes to the voters, it's clear. And have that S there, what I heard is you want to break it up into 3 positions.
There needs to be checks and balances.
Well,
That's what-
I'm not saying,
that's what we're doing.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just don't want it to go in. I want people
not
to
understand.
understand and vote what, that's right. That's right. And if you want to do that, then I think you ought to just do it. And that would be
Maybe
eliminate,
make a separate article. for
Eliminate-
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
do away with the town clerk, tax collector, treasurer position, because that's what you're doing, and appoint.
3 different positions.
That's right.
That would explain it.
We
That
may
would
not,
tell us-
see, that doesn't solve the problem. Because we might not appoint 3 different positions. We might appoint 1 position or 2 positions,
You got
or 3 positions.
No, you have to appoint all 3. You might elect the same person, or you might appoint the
Choose
same
the same
person
person.
for all 3. But you've got to appoint all 3.
Oh, wait a minute, though, excuse me. He said the reason why he was changing these positions is because there were no checks and balances and Vera was doing all the jobs and nobody was double checking on the books.
Well,
That
And
was one
now,
of the reasons.
now you're saying, yeah.
I'm not saying anything different now.
So
No.
what, why aren't you gonna make them separate positions and hire separate people for?
Because
Well, that kind of
there's
defeats the
enough
purpose.
work on any
without
one of them
the-
to make it a full-time position.
One of
Except
them
for probably town clerk, the combination that makes sense as a full-time position
Right.
is town clerk tax.
Tax collector.
And treasurer.
Treasurer
Separate.
Treasurer
separate.
separate.
So take the treasurer out of it.
Why can't we do the treasurer separate? I think it would make the voters understand better, really.
If it said positions of, and then you named them separately, after you put
I
comma,
guess,
positions of.
I don't care.
It would clarify it.
I
That's a
give
main
people
thing with these articles.
credit for having a lot more intelligence than I guess most everybody else does.
No, but it's
Well-
nice to have input, they're not
It's
saying
the
anything about it.
interpretation.
Yeah.
It's just people, yeah, people look into something and
Loopholes.
Then they find out there's
what I,
something
what I,
different and
what I
they go
think,
like,
that-
I
what I
voted
think
yes
that
on
we
this.
wrote, you might take it differently. She'll
Right.
take it
Exactly.
different.
That's right.
You know, everybody's got a different view of, you could read a law and 10 different people get different
And
views.
what was the
That's the
prior board
problem.
always saying? That's your opinion, that's your opinion, that's your
yeah,
opinion.
and
But
you
we're
know,
not-
And that's all we heard on the
But
prior board.
I don't care about the prior board, yes, I see you, Wayne.
I know.